Welcome everyone to this Kansas State University online. Tonight we're going to talk about tackle your transfer. So if you're a prospective student interested in one of our K-State online programs, we are glad that you're here to learn about how you can transfer into Kansas State. Joining me tonight on this particular webinar panel, and I think the slide will be next that will show our pictures, but I'm Jennifer Fortmiller. I work with K-State Global Campus as an admissions and enrollment coach. Also have joining with me Sarah Kells, an admission representative, and Roxanne Kennedy, our other admissions representative. We have two of them that will split the alpha, your last name by alpha split, and they will be able to work with all prospective students coming into K-State. You'll be hearing from them in a little bit, so I will kind of wait at that point and let you visit with them and see them when we get to their particular part of this program. But that's who's going to be on this webinar tonight. And again, we're very thankful that you're here. The agenda for tonight, we do have about a 35-minute, 40-minute presentation that we're going to talk to you a lot of things related to K-State online, K-State transfer, admissions, those sort of topics. And then we're going to allow about 10 or 15 minutes for questions afterwards. I think if you can look down at your webinar, you'll see now at the bottom there's a Q&A place. And that would be a great place if you've got questions at any point during this particular event. Go ahead and write in your questions. We may be able to answer them during the webinar, or we can save some later and answer them live. But that is something to look for down there on the bottom part of your screen in this particular Zoom webinar. In addition, we've got a chat over there. You may see some things pop up in there. We may have some web links of some sort that will come into that one, so you'll be able to see and click on things as we're going through this particular presentation as well. If you'd like to raise your hand, we can maybe communicate a little bit with you on this side too. So we will be able to try to make this as personable as we can, but knowing that it's a webinar, we'll just have you interact with us through that Q&A part. And then at the end, we'll be able to answer a lot of those questions. So throughout the evening, or at least in the first part, we do have a few poll questions that we're going to ask you. So when those come up, if you don't mind putting in your answers, that would be great. And then as a reminder, this is being recorded. We are going to be able to send out the link so that you have it as reference, and also to other people who are interested in this topic but unable to attend tonight. So we'll have that recording available. It does take us about 7 to 10 business days, but we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. So topics that we're going to cover tonight include who are transfer students. We'll give some definitions and some reasons why you might be a transfer student. And we're going to talk about why K-State. Give you some good reasons about why coming to K-State would be a great choice. We're going to talk about how to apply, making that whole process as smooth and easy for you as we can. We'll also talk about transfer credit. There's a lot of different ways that you can bring in transfer credit as a transfer student. So we're going to talk through a lot of those areas, including how we evaluate that credit, how you can get credit by exam, prior learning credit, military credit, and then also international credit for those that have international transcripts. In addition, we're going to talk about admissions and enrollment process at K-State once you've applied and been admitted. Then we'll talk about our DirectLink, which is a dual advising program that's pretty unique to the state of Kansas and institutions there, but we'll talk about some of those little details. Then we'll also talk about services that are available to you as online students at K-State. And then finally, we'll talk about important dates and get ready for that next process as you apply and get enrolled at K-State. So time for our first poll. Want to know, from where are you transferring? So if we can get that particular poll launched, are you coming with transfer credit from in the state of Kansas, from an institution outside of the state of Kansas, or from an institution outside of the United States? So if you don't mind filling out that poll here real quick, seeing a few answers kind of coming in, but curious as to where all of our students are coming from that are here on the call tonight. Looks like most of them are from outside the state of Kansas, so that's probably pretty typical what we're expecting for our online programs. Okay, well, thank you for filling that out, and we will continue on with our presentation. All right, so who are transfer students? By definition, a transfer student is someone who has completed 24 credit hours or more from an institution after a year after they've graduated from high school. So having all of those transfer credits come in, we know a lot of students would also have taken credits maybe during high school if they graduate in May and start at K-State in the fall. We're not going to necessarily consider those transfer students, but it would be somebody who has taken a break from high school but brings in 24 credit hours or more of transfer credit. And why do transfer students change institutions? Could be for a variety of reasons. It could be that you're changing locations. You need something more flexible. It could be that there is a niche program that you're looking for. You started in one program and now have a desire to do a different type of a program. So a lot of reasons why students will transfer. And that's exactly what we're trying to work with students. We love when students will transfer into K-State and knowing that they come from a lot of different backgrounds. In fact, according to Azalean market research, 87% of students that are entering an online program are bringing in transfer credit. So we know, and we work on a daily basis with students that have transfer credits. The national average is 87%, and I would say K-State, we're very close to that, if not even closer to 90% of our students do bring in transfer credits. So we deal a lot with the transfer credits and a lot of different transcripts, and we're here to help you navigate that process. All right, the next slide is another time for a poll. We're kind of curious though, how many institutions have you previously attended? National average is 3 that a student would bring in credit. And so just kind of curious where you fall into this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus. We have had some students that will bring in up to 15 different transcripts, a lot of different transfer institutions. That's not real common, but it is something that we do see fairly often. But just trying to see where we're at, and it does look like this population tonight on the presentation fits kind of our national average of having two transcripts, 2 to 3 different transcripts. So great, thank you for doing that particular poll. All right, so we'll move on now to the next slide, and this one is talking about K-State Online. Why would you pick K-State Online? Well, we think that we have some really great programs for you, which would be a good reason for you to transfer to Kansas State University. In fact, we've got 21 unique online degree programs. Some of them are very niche that you wouldn't find anywhere else, and then some of them are very similar to where you'd find other places, but we just think K-State has a great way of presenting those particular degrees in the online format. We use the same faculty as on campus, the same curriculum is on campus, everything is the same as on campus, but we are now able to deliver that in the online modality. And we have been doing online and distance education for well over 50 years. Now, not all that's been internet years, but we have been able to provide online or distance education for over 50 years. Being a part of K-State Online, you have a very flexible schedule to earn a degree. You're not confined to a desk in a room. You can do it at your leisure, whether it's in the evenings or on the weekends or whatever time of day works the best for you. You can be a part and take part in courses at Kansas State University. And it's learn on the go. We do have this mobile course access, so you could be sitting in the bleachers watching children play a sport, or you can be anywhere and be able to complete an online degree. So next, we're going to talk about the various degrees that K-State does offer in the online format. We've got 21. I'm going to try to run through them very quickly. Animal science and industry is one of our very popular ones coming on board, and it does have a pre-vet option in the online format. Applied business and technology can utilize an AAS degree very, very well and give a business spin at the very end from the K-State courses. So you can come in with any AAS degree except a business-oriented one and still be able to transfer into K-State and put a business twist. We do have aviation management. We do have an aerospace and technology campus that can offer that one in the online format. And then 4 options in our business administration program. So business analytics, human resource management, marketing, operation, and supply chain management. Dietetics is one of our next ones. It's a very niche program that's available in the online format, an ASIND accredited program where you can become a registered dietitian. And this is the beginning pathway for this. Digital innovation and media would be the next one coming on. We also have early childhood education if you like working with kids from 0 to 6 years of age. Educational studies would be the next one. And this is for somebody who likes the education outlook, but doesn't necessarily want to be in the classroom. You can still do affiliated industries with education. Elementary ed is also a popular one in the online format to become a elementary ed teacher, grades kindergarten through 6th grade. Food science and industry is a very special, unique program. Not many of these in the country, but K-State has one of those programs, and it's available in the online format. Human development and family studies, if you like working with people of all ages, from early childhood to geriatrics, this would be a great program for you to be involved in. Integrated computer sciences. We all know how important the computers are in the world, and you can integrate a lot of different aspects and put this into kind of this all-encompassing degree. Kinesiology, like how the body moves and how human athletics and those sort of things happen. This would be a great degree for you. Machine learning and autonomous systems. Again, a very unique, specialized degree that can be done in the online format. Open option. Maybe you don't know yet what you want to major in, and this is a great one to explore all the different types of classes and try to figure out a degree. Organizational management, a nice human resource twist on a degree program as you're working with organizations. Nutrition and health. Say you like nutrition, you like working with people, maybe not want to be a dietitian, but still want to focus in on nutrition and health. This one's for you. It looks like I have organizational management on there twice, so we'll skip on to the next one. Personal financial planning. If you like working with people, you like helping them deal with finances, a great program to be involved in. Professional aviation, learning how to be a professional pilot, again, coming from our aerospace and technology program. And then social science, a very broad-based degree that covers a lot of different areas in social science. So you can really explore a lot of interest areas and get a degree in social science. So 21 different program areas that we have at K-State Online. Now, the question is for you, which one are you interested in? I suppose we could back up and show that list if it makes it easier, or you can type in kind of your interest area in this little short answer poll. Get a few answers in here. If you know right away what you're interested in, that's fantastic, and we'll kind of go that way. If you're undecided, you can certainly put that in there as well, and we'll figure that out as we go along. Getting some answers in. Awesome. Thank you for filling that out. All right, well, I think that's about the end of my particular presentation. I'm now going to transition over to Sarah Kells, and she'll talk about the next steps as you become a transfer student. So Sarah, take it away.
Thanks, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. As Jennifer said, my name is Sarah Kells. I'm one of the admissions representatives. I do recognize a few names that I've worked with, so glad to see that. But happy to be here to answer any questions and hopefully give you a better idea on our transfer process. So here I'm going to start off with, steps for our transfer admissions process. I'm going to talk a little bit more about each of these in more detail over the next few slides. The first step is find your major. Jennifer just talked about all the degrees we offer online. Once you find the major, and your next step would be applying for admission. That includes completing the admission application, paying the application fee, and having transcripts and documents sent over to us for evaluation. This way you can see how your previous classes transfer. Definitely look at scholarship and financial aid opportunities, see what's available. We do have a Office of Student Financial Assistance that can help with that after you've been admitted. And we do have general university scholarships, but also some scholarships specifically for online students. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then ultimately, enrolling in classes at K-State would be your final step, and you would just get help with that with your academic advisor. So we just talked about the different options for online degrees. Make sure to inquire about the degree you're interested in. And this is where Jennifer, Roxanne, and I can really help. So if you have questions about the degree that you're interested in, maybe you're debating between a couple, admission requirements, really any questions in general, we are here to help with that. Once you're admitted, we'll get you connected with an advisor to help you further. But until then, we would be your main point of contact. Another thing to consider is What semester do you want to start? We do have 3 different start dates, our summer, fall, and spring semesters, and it is never too early to start planning. What date you're going to start with works best for you. You might have some personal reasons, but we always like for you to think ahead because there are different deadlines for admissions and scholarship applications. I always say the earlier the better. This way you are not rushing or forgetting anything. So for applying, your first step is to submit an admission application. And this is going to ask you quite a few questions, but if you're a transfer student, you have filled out an application and you know what we're going to ask. But there are a couple things that I really do want to point out on that application. One is we do ask that you disclose all of your previous institutions that you have earned credits from. We want to make sure that our main admissions office is looking out for those transcripts from these schools as they come in so they can match them with your application. Also, please disclose all your previous names for that same reason, such as your maiden name. This way there are no delays when your transcripts arrive. There will be sections that ask for these specific things and this information, so just be sure to fill those out if they pertain to you. There is an application fee for domestic students, those here in the United States, it's $40, and for international students, it's an $80 fee. However, if you have previous enrolled and completed classes with K-State or have applied and paid the fee within the last year, you will not have to pay the application fee again. The last thing, oh, I went a little far, sorry about that. But the last thing that we need you to do is complete your application, is requesting official transcripts from all your previous institutions. Official transcripts must come directly from the previous institution. Student issued or personal copies are not going to be considered official, and so they won't be accepted for your application. If you're a military student who has military credit, be sure to have your military transcript, such as your joint services transcript, sent to us. And also, if you've taken any CLEP or AP tests, any other exams, you would definitely want those to be sent to us so we can apply those as well. For our international population, we do accept international credits. We would just need you to send those transcripts translated into English. These can be unofficial, just the international transcripts, because we do find that those are difficult to find official ones for. But transcripts and documents for everything I've mentioned can be mailed, faxed, but email, of course, is going to be quicker. So now for this slide, when it comes to transferring credits to K-State, there are a few different requirements that we are looking at when we're looking over your official transcripts. First is they do need to be coming from a regionally accredited institution. Right now, there are 6 regional accrediting bodies. Then their job is to set the standards and guidelines for higher education schools to follow. And this is just to make sure that the quality of education that they're providing their students is, standardized across the board. Regional and national accreditations are not the same. I do get this question a bit, so just be wary of that. If you're looking at taking courses elsewhere at the moment before transferring, nationally accredited schools are usually going to be trade schools, sometimes for-profit schools. An example for like a trade school would be culinary schools. With our food science degree, we get a lot of students from culinary schools like the Cordon Bleu, which is a very well-known one that is going to be not considered a regionally accredited school. We do ask that another thing we look at is if you earned a C or higher on your transfer coursework, there might be some classes with a D that will be accepted, but it just depends on the specific class and the degree program that you are pursuing. Your GPA from other schools will not transfer, but it is necessary for admissions decisions and scholarships you're applying for. So once you get to K-State and start completing classes, you'll actually create a K-State GPA, which is where future scholarship and other decisions will be going off of moving forward. Speaking of GPAs, for admission to K-State, you do need to have a 2.0 GPA for admissions on your previous coursework. Some degrees do require a higher GPA. For example, many programs in the College of Business require a 2.5 GPA for admission. But definitely connect with us one-on-one so we can talk to you more about that about the admission requirements for specific programs. There are also some degrees that require specific courses or prerequisites before you can apply. A food science and industry bachelor is a great example. There are some specific courses they require that you take before transferring to the program. And we can, again, talk to you more about that one-on-one well before you start applying. That way you don't experience any surprises. So now I want to talk about our different transfer tools. I feel that this is really important for all transfer students to know that they exist, because these tools really are really easy, nice to use, and to make your transfer process as seamless as possible. So we'll be sending these links to you in the chat as we go. The first one that we'll talk about is our transfer equivalency tool. This is where you can search course by course. When you use this tool, you'll select the school that you're transferring from or plan to transfer credits from, and then you can select specific classes that we've articulated in that system, and it will tell you how they will transfer to K-State. So you can see an example on here. A couple things I want to point out is if you look at that first line, you'll see that the Kansas State University class on the right-hand side on that first line has an asterisk next to it. This does not mean that the class does not transfer. It just means that it will transfer, but it needs to be evaluated as to how it will fit into that specific degree plan. If you look at the second line, the accounting 1640, you'll see that the result for the K-State equivalent for that does not have any asterisks. That means that it is a specific K-State equivalent. So the specific class that from Barton County will come into K-State as accounting 231. And if you ever have any questions, this is when we can definitely do some clarification for you one-on-one, or we can, always ask our main admissions office as well. So when using the transfer equivalency tool, you may not be able to find your school sometimes or a certain class. And this doesn't necessarily mean that they won't transfer. It just means that no other student has tried to transfer it before, so it isn't in our database yet. If that does occur on that same website, you can see that there is a request course evaluation. And when you select that, there will be some information that you just need to provide for us. And there will be a form when you click on that link. And you can see here that this is a list of the information that we'll need. Name of institution, course name, professor name, course topics, grading information, all the textbook information, and all of that will be usually in your course syllabus. And so that's definitely what our admissions office will need to evaluate this. And it cannot be just a class description. So you may be asking yourself, well, I don't have that syllabus anymore. I don't blame you. I don't have my syllabus for my classes either. So what you would do is just reach out to the registrar's office at that school or the department, and they should be able to pull that up. I think it was Jennifer one time that said that she had a student who could not find a syllabus from a class they took in like 1980 something. But Jennifer was able to help her, and they were able to find it through the registrar's office. So it is possible. It shouldn't be too difficult. If it's way back there, maybe in the 80s, it might take them a few extra days, but they can find it, and they do keep it on file. One thing I do also want to note is that it does need to be from the semester that you took the class. That way we have that specific information. So if you have AP credit and you're wondering how that's going to transfer to K-State, we do have another tool that is similar to our transfer equivalency tool I showed you. And as I mentioned earlier, with international transcripts, I just want to reiterate that they do need to be translated to English, but they can be unofficial for only international transcripts, just because it is sometimes difficult to get official ones. But I'm going to go ahead and show you an example, the screenshot of our AP search. So you can look up the type of test in this link. The link should be coming into the chat. Thank you very much. And you can, again, look at the type of test, what score is needed, what class it will count towards, and how many credit hours that class is worth. This will be a great resource for those of you that do have this, and be sure to have those test scores and documents for that sent during your application process. We'll now talk about our transfer pathways. So this is on the same website as our transfer equivalency tool, but our transfer pathways tool is going to be a search by curriculum there on the right-hand side. So you can utilize this tool to view a curriculum guide that aligns the course requirements to a specific bachelor degree and so you can see the equivalent courses that can be transferred from the institution. I'll have an example on the next page, but I also do want to mention that this is going to be mostly available for Kansas and community technical colleges only. I have had a few surprises in there for schools in neighboring states like Missouri, Nebraska, so be sure to check it out. You never know. So in this example, we've selected that we are transferring from Johnson County Community College. We selected that as the school we're transferring from, but not sure what bachelor degree. I'm guessing business based on the math classes I'm seeing here. But it will give you some different options. But as you can see, this really gives you a great guide to classes that you can take at a specific school before transferring to K-State. And again, this will be for multiple schools, multiple programs throughout Kansas. You can also, there at the top, you can view by course, or you can even view by semester. That's another option. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Roxy. And yeah, she'll talk to you more about some other tools and some of our other resources. Take it away.
Yeah, howdy. Good evening, everyone. So Sarah shared some really great resources with us just now. I wanted to add a couple additional resources that I think are really helpful for transfer students. So one of them, what you're seeing on the screen right now, is called DirectLink. This is a really cool resource, but it is for students attending community colleges in the state of Kansas. So just to specify, this resource really focuses on Kansas community colleges. So just if you're curious about how your school may fit in, just reach out to us. But if you're attending somewhere in Kansas and you're like, hey, this might be a cool resource, I wanted to share it regardless. So DirectLink allows you and your academic advisor at your community college to connect with a K-State advisor. So it really helps you personalize your experience of transferring by letting you work with the advisor you're currently working with and then working with the K-State advisor to make sure you're best prepared to go to K-State. So that process can sometimes be really confusing or it can be intimidating. So having a K-State advisor work with you and your advisor just helps in general. It makes the process, less scary because it's like, hey, everything's gonna be okay, I promise, we're working together. Your advisors will work together to also help you enroll in classes. So when you're taking classes at your community college and you're wondering, will this transfer? I want to go to this specific program with K-State. What will that process look like? Your advisors will then be able to work together and say, okay, you'll take these classes. This will help transfer your degree and kind of maximize that ability to transfer credits over to Kansas State. DirectLink also just kind of helps, clarify the transfer process and explains what credit transferability looks like. So when you're like, I don't know if I should be taking these classes, or I don't know if this will really work with my degree, the K-State advisor and your advisor will help and kind of make that whole process more seamless. So DirectLink can help you increase kind of just your student success because it helps create this individualized plan for you. It also increases reverse transfer credit process. So I'll explain that in the next slide. And it just helps you also connect with someone at K-State. So if you're, exploring K-State as an option, you're like, well, I also want to meet an advisor. I want to start talking to people and see kind of what the K-State community looks like. You'll connect with someone who very likely will be working with you at your K-State degree when you're here with us. So it also helps kind of make that connection feel more personal. And I'll move on to the next slide, please. Perfect. So just kind of explaining what the DirectLink process looks like. So if this is something that's of interest to you and you're saying, oh yeah, I want to kind of explore this and see what that process looks like in general. The first thing you'll want to do is submit an inquiry. So you'll submit an online application, which a link should be in chat shortly if it's not already. And so if you're curious about exploring this, the first thing to do is really just submit an application saying, hey, I'm interested, I'd love to learn more about this. Once we receive your application in the next couple days or so, sometime afterwards, someone will contact you and say, hey, we heard that you're interested in DirectLink. Let's start talking about that. So you'll be contacted by our DirectLink coordinator or a coordinator for transfer transition programs. So you'll receive an email sometime afterwards saying, hey, here's a welcome thing. Let's start talking about this and exploring, how this can benefit you as a student. In that email, you'll also get a DirectLink student agreement. So it'll kind of explain what the process looks like, how that will all be structured, just making sure that, you're totally comfortable with what the DirectLink process is going to look like. You sign that and, work with your advisor, you submit that back to K-State, and then the process really begins. So your advisor connection will be made, your advisor will reach out to you, your advisor, and say, hey, I'm from K-State, we're going to work together. Let's start kind of exploring, classes for the next couple of semesters. Let's start exploring how we can support you as a student and making sure that you're on the best track to moving to transfer to K-State. And then what that process looks like once you're in the DirectLink application resource, once you're starting to use it with your advisors, you just get semester updates primarily. So they'll reach out every semester and say, hey, we're making sure we're enrolling in the correct classes together. We're making sure that we can kind of maximize the class you're taking at your community college, and just making sure that, you're feeling comfortable with everything so you can prepare and be, best equipped to transfer to Kansas State University. And then another resource I wanted to talk about was reverse transferring. So a lot of students will see this and say, I don't know what that is, or, what does this really apply to? So in the way that DirectLink, is focused on schools or community colleges in the state of Kansas, reverse transferring can really be open and broad to students who attended a community college but haven't completed their associate's degree yet. So if you're, applying to K-State and you never finished your associates, or you just, took it years ago and you're like, oh, I never finished it, but I'm going to K-State. If you want to, this is another option where you can kind of work towards getting both of those degrees at the same time. You may wonder, like, how is that possible, or how does that really work? What that looks like is that it's an opt-in program, but you take classes with K-State, and then we make sure that those classes are also gearing towards finishing up your requirements for your associate's degree. So if you were close to finishing your degree, you're like, oh, I really wish I got that degree, but I'm working with K-State now. There's a way that you can kind of do both of those things at the same time and not have to compromise on picking one or the other. So like I said, it's an opt-in program, so we're not going to force you to do this if you want. But if you're like, hey, that would be interesting to me, or I really want to explore that as a resource, reverse transferring is another great way that you can get credit for the work that you were doing. So if you were working towards an associate's but were just shy of getting it, or you never finished your credits, there's possibilities that you could complete that while working at K-State and working towards your bachelor at the same time. And then so kind of shifting gears. So the big question on a lot of students' mind is, how do I pay for school? What does that process look like? Scholarships, financial aid, all that good stuff. So we have two primary scholarship avenues that students explore. So as a K-State student, you have access to something called the Student Scholarship Network, which Jennifer, Sarah, I could always explain to you if you ever have questions. You're like, hey, what are scholarships and like, what does that process look like? But a specific scholarship resource that we like exploring with students is our online student scholarships that are just for K-State online students. So as a K-State online student, you have specific scholarships that are just for y'all. It's money that we're like, hey, we want to support our online students in their learning. So these scholarships are geared towards y'all specifically. And so on the screen right now are the specific dates of deadlines when you need to apply for these things. All of the scholarships are by term. So you would get scholarship for, summer term or fall term or spring term. So some students will say, oh, well, I can just use my scholarship money whenever. No, they are specifically for that semester. So if you're wanting to start in the fall, we want to look at, applying for fall scholarships and stuff like that. So as I said, there's these 3 scholarship deadlines. Just to be aware, the April 1st deadline is for the for the summer applications. That's in like 2 days from now. So if you're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to apply for the summer and start doing summer scholarships, talk to us immediately, because we want to make sure that we get you in before that April 1 deadline. Or if that helps, your conversation of maybe I look towards applying in the fall because I'll be able to have more time for applying for fall scholarships. Like I said, Sarah, Jennifer, and I can always help with these things. If you're like, this seems really scary or these deadlines, make me worried, I promise we are here to help. But just be mindful that these scholarships do have deadlines and we want to make sure that we're meeting those and helping you apply for them in a timely manner. And so, yes, perfect. So you've been hearing us talk about the process of transferring. You've been hearing us talk about, this whole way of, here's all the steps you do. Now you're admitted. What does that process look like? Where do we go next from here? So if you're admitted, you'll receive an email with something along the lines of an update's been made to your student account. So be sure that you're checking your emails is the biggest advice I can give you as a transfer student. If you're like, I check my emails once every month or so, I encourage you to check your emails actively. K-State loves communicating via email and you will get so much important information from your emails. So always check your K-State email, check your personal email when you apply. When you get an admissions update, you'll get something of the subject line. Like I said, an update's been added to your account. It's going to be kept, kind of vague. So you want to look out for it. In the weeks after you get an admissions decision, so you check that email, you see that you've been admitted, sometime in the next couple of weeks, you'll hear from your academic advisor. So they'll reach out to you, they'll introduce themselves, they'll say, hello, we're going to be working together. I want to, make that connection with you. So if you see an email from someone you've never heard of before, you should open it because I promise these are people that are here to help you. And so when you hear back from your advisor, they'll also share some sort of degree plan with you. So they'll evaluate your credits if you're transferring from previous institutions. They'll be able to say, here's what your timeline looks like for K-State. Here's how many credits you have left approximately, and then start working with you to say, okay, based on your schedule and your timeline, where do we want to take classes? How many credits do we want to take per semester? So they'll be able to kind of help you with that process. You'll also start working with our student portal system, which is called CASIS. You'll hear that acronym a lot. You'll also hear DARS, which I promise it sounds scary and it's not. It's just a degree audit report. So it's a way to look at your previous credit and say, okay, you have these things satisfied or you're missing these things. And it makes kind of a visual, easier way to digest like what credits you have and which ones you still need for your program. And so just like I can keep saying, you'll get emails from your advisors. Please be sure you're reading them and responding to them. You'll work with your academic advisor to schedule your classes, enrolling classes in the semester. They will be the main focus point of someone who will help you every semester in getting enrolled. So just make sure you're keeping up with your emails. We want to make sure you get in the classes that you want to take and that you need to take for your degrees. So please keep reading your emails is my one note. If you can leave this call with something, emails are so important, I promise. Next slide, please. Perfect. I'm also going to add some transfer tips, just things that are helpful for students in the past that we like just kind of, sharing as words of wisdom. My biggest thing with this is starting early is your friend. If you are the type of student that you're like, okay, 11:59, the night that something's due, I'm going to submit it real quick. If you're like the adrenaline junkie with assignments like I am, do yourself a favor and start working on applications early. It will just make life so less stressful for you. So if you're thinking about applying for the summer or the fall, or even next spring, start having the conversations with us now. We're all here to help. And the more time you give yourself, the just less stressful the process is of submitting your documents or, making sure all of your credits are sent in and making sure we have all of your materials. So please be sure you're reaching out to us as early as you want to, but I encourage earlier the better. Making sure you're submitting all of your transcripts, like I said, so all of your CLEP scores, all of your military credits, your JSTs, everything. We will need all of them for your applications. If you have any questions about what documents you might need to send, we will let you know, but also feel free to reach out to us anytime. We'll say, hey, let's just get all these things. It's better to be safe than sorry, typically. You also can start using the transfer credit tools. So all the things that Sarah shared previously, they're all great tools. They're there for you. They're free to use. So if you want to start exploring and seeing, okay, like these credits are on the system, so I know they'll transfer, or this class isn't here, but I might want to possibly explore it, submit my syllabus, see if that class will transfer in advance. Start doing those things now, because then it gives you more time to kind of explore them as you're preparing to transfer with K-State. Stay in contact with us. We are reaching out because we want to help support you. We think y'all are cool. Please be sure to reach out if you get emails from us, if you have any questions, if you get a call and you're like, who's this random person that contacted me? It's probably one of us. I promise we're friendly. Please be sure to keep in contact with us, because our job here is to help support you and make sure that we can get you, set up for success. And then make sure you're setting up your K-State profiles and accounts. You will get emails about them. So if you're like, oh, I don't know what this thing they keep telling me is, it's probably something that you need to get set up. So check your email and make sure that you're keeping on top of things. Make sure that you're getting all stuff set up. And if this feels overwhelming or stressful, we are all here to help. All of us on this call are here as supports for you. And we are not the only ones. Transition. Perfect. I appreciate it. Here's just kind of a snapshot of some resources that are here for you as a K-State online student or someone who's just exploring online school with us. This is a small snapshot. Of course, there's many other people that are included in your resource pool, but here's some people I just want to kind of highlight really quickly. The first, I'm biased, is a really cool team. It's called Recruitment, which is what all of the people on the call right now are working in. So when we talk about recruitment, that's our recruiters, which is Sarah and I, our admission enrollment coach, which is Jennifer. We have a great team of people who are here again to help you. Any question that you have is not a bad question. Feel free to reach out with like, hey, I have a question about this, or I want to explore this, or here's a really weird situation. We are all here to help make this process less scary for you and to support you however we can, essentially. We also work in conjunction with our admissions team. So the people who will evaluate your transcripts, the people who will, kind of look at all of the nitty gritties of, your transfer credits, your JSTs, your CLEP credits, we'll work with those teams very closely. So if you say, hey, I submitted this transcript and it seems like it hasn't been cleared for my profile yet, we can help with that as well. We'll work with the admission team or say, hey, like I submitted this thing and it doesn't seem like it's appeared anywhere, or I haven't submitted this yet. How do I do that? We can kind of work with all of these offices together to work through that process. You also will have an academic advisor. Like I said, they will be one of your best friends at K-State. They will help you continuously with getting enrolled in classes, making sure that you're on track for graduation. So that's another person, and they work in just the general academic advising unit to help make sure that you are succeeding and getting all the classes you need to graduate. We also have a fantastic financial advising team. You have a financial aid advisor as a K-State student. So if you're like, oh, I need to talk to someone, there is someone assigned to you specifically. They work with your last name, like, hello, I'm here to help you. I used them when I was a K-State student. I can't recommend them enough. So if you have questions about financial aid, you have questions about how am I going to afford school, or do you know other ways I can access scholarships or resources, your financial aid advising team will always be there to help. Also, technology is really important because you are a K-State online student, and a lot of your work is going to be centered around online technology. So if you are having questions about, you can't access KSIS, or you can't enroll in classes, or something's, working weird with your systems, please feel free to reach out to our IT help desk. They are wonderful people. They have helped all of us on this call at some point in our, K-State careers. They're wonderful. They're here to help. And again, there's really not such a thing as a bad question. Also, the IT department has a huge list of resources. So if you ever want to explore, just oh, hey, I'm working through this problem, I don't know if there's any answers. There's usually a bunch of great things on their website to explore as well. And then if any of you are military affiliated or are exploring, GI benefits, tuition assistance, really anything regarding, being connected as a military affiliated student as K-State Online, we have a military student services coordinator who's pretty fantastic and works with all of us pretty closely. So if you have specific questions about using tuition benefits, or, how do you explore using your GI Bill, or how do you explore using, any of your military tuition assistance, feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to make that connection for you as well. And then important dates. So I'm just going to highlight these pretty quickly so we can leave time for additional questions. But so here's some important upcoming dates, both about scholarship deadlines and our application deadlines. So like I said, April 1st, it is happening in a couple of days, is our summer 2023 scholarship deadline. So if you're looking to applying for the summer and wanting financial aid assistance, be sure to reach out to us this evening so we can start helping with things. Coming up, May 1st is going to be our application deadline for summer 2023. So if you're looking to apply for that term, be sure to have everything submitted by May 1st. June 1st is our fall scholarship deadline. So if you're looking for scholarships for you're attending in the fall of 2023, be sure that you keep that in your calendar because the summer deadlines sometimes sneak up on you. August 1st is our deadline for the fall 2023 applications. So if you're looking to apply with us and start in fall 2023, be sure you have everything submitted by that date. Our term officially begins August 21st, and then some additional kind of deadlines to be mindful of. So if you're looking for, in the future, spring 2024 is your start date and you want scholarship money, November 1st is an important deadline to have for that. Just making sure you have everything in time. And then January 1st is our deadline for spring 2024, which is already weird to think we're that far in advance. So if you're looking at applying, spring of next year, and you want to start thinking about, what that timeline looks like, you'll want to have everything submitted by January 1st. Okay, and then next steps. So you're ready to apply, you've heard all this stuff, you're like, all right, cool, I think transferring is something for me and I'm really excited to do it. What is that next process? So if you have any questions, we are here to help. So you're welcome to reach out to us at online@ksu.edu is our email. And then our website is online.k-state.edu. So if you want to explore our website and kind of get some additional information, you're welcome to. If you want to contact us directly and start having conversations with your admissions rep and kind of exploring what that process looks like, you can email us as well. Yes. And again, yes, it does not hurt to apply early. So if you're like, hey, I want to apply and I'm thinking about it, start working with us early. We are happy to help. As Jennifer mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, our webinars are usually, finished within 7 to 10 business days. So we will send out links, but it won't happen tomorrow. So just be patient, but you all will get this link sent to you so you can access the recording of this webinar in about 7 to 10 business days. And then as a thank you for attending, because we appreciate your time and know that it's the evening for a lot of you, we like to offer an application fee waiver for either the summer or the fall 2023 semester. So if you're looking at applying for either of those terms, be sure to reach out to us and say, hey, I'm wanting to explore getting a application fee waiver. This applies to all programs except dietetics, unfortunately. So just be mindful if you're in a program that is not dietetics, this works for you. If it's dietetics, be sure to reach out. We could, have some additional conversations. But that is all of the resources I have for y'all. So thank you so much. And again, if you have any questions, we are all here to help. So feel free to contact any of us, Sarah, Jennifer, myself. We are all, I promise, really cool people and happy to assist really with any questions you have about applying to K-State, online classes, K-State Online in general. We are happy to be here as resources for y'all. And then I believe now we've got time for questions. So some of you have already been using the Q&A chat, which is great. There is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So if you want to submit questions, if you have specific things you'd like to ask us right now, any sort of questions, you are welcome to submit them now.
There was a good question in the Q&A section that I think it wouldn't hurt to say out loud too, but they asked, if you're an online student, do you pay out-of-state tuition if you're transferring from an out-of-state institution? And that was a fantastic question. The nice thing about being an online student is that you pay the same rate as all students in the online program. So there is no out-of-state or in-state tuition differences for an online student. You all pay the same rate. So that's a real advantage, I think, for out-of-state, particularly out-of-state students. You get the same quality education as the in-state student in the online format. Is there another question that came in here?
That might be for you, Jennifer, our Barton County lady.
There's a question that came in saying, can I take classes at K-State and at Barton Community College at the same time? And yes, you can. It gets a little bit complicated. Particularly if you're using financial aid, that can be really tricky. If you're not using financial aid, then there's really no problem whatsoever. Sometimes it does make sense to take the classes first at Barton and then transfer them to K-State. But depending on your circumstance, it may make sense to take one class from Barton and one at K-State in the same semester. So that's something that you'd want to work out with your advisor. We can certainly go through those scenarios and see how it might play out. But there's no advantage or disadvantages for doing that. But keep in mind, financial aid gets a little tricky, but we'll work through all that. Okay. Anybody else?
And I saw a question in the chat that I was going to answer. So someone had asked, is there a year limit beyond which certain credits wouldn't be transferred? So credits do not expire with K-State. So if you're, the short answer of that is credits don't expire. So if you're, I took a class, 15, 20, 30 years ago, and I want to explore if it transfers, credits do not expire specifically. However, if, it's in a subject that's had a lot of revisions over the years, your advisors may say that you may want to retake the course just so you're getting updated information. So if you took a computer science 20 years ago and, that course probably looks very different now than it did when you took it 20 years ago. So we will never, credits don't expire necessarily, but there are certain circumstances where, your advisor will say you'll need to retake the course, or if there's not an equivalent course at K-State, so you took something in a, very niche topic, or again, like a technical school that wouldn't transfer to us, in those instances, we wouldn't likely be able to transfer them.
And one note, dietetic students, there are some recency requirements for some science classes. Not every class, but there are 2 or 3 classes that need to be taken more recently. So in that regard, some of those older science courses may expire, but we'll work with you to find that out. But like Roxy said, there are some very specific programs that may have some differences, but for the most part, college algebra from 20 years ago is still college algebra.
Yeah.
Have some?
Yeah, there was one question. I think everybody can kind of add their own little thing. Our previous syllabus required for admissions, and what if I do not have access to those anymore? You would just reach out to that school. The registrar's office or the department's going to have that syllabus if it is needed. Usually if it is needed to be more officially evaluated, you're going to be told that once you're admitted, they're going to need that more information. It's also going to be needed if you do that course evaluation request that I had showed previously. I can definitely put the link in again. If you do not find it on that transfer equivalency page, and we can talk to you a little bit more about that.
Most institutions are used to having the syllabus requested from them. It's not unusual at all. A lot of places all over the world will be doing this. So it's not an unusual request. Don't feel bad about asking for it. But sometimes you may have to be a little more persistent. If the registrar can't help you, maybe talk to the department, like the math department or English department, whatever that class is located in. And as Sarah alluded to earlier in the presentation, if they don't have it, or credits are from the late 1900s or 1980s, you can certainly contact the librarian, and the archivist may know where to find this. So there are ways to get that.
That's what it was. I knew you had a story. The next question I think is really good, and it is something that I will probably add in our presentation next time, is how many credits can you transfer to K-State? So the maximum amount of credits that can transfer to K-State from a 2-year school or community college is 60 credit hours. And the maximum amount of transfer from another 4-year school or university is 90 credit hours. You do have to complete at least 30 credit hours with K-State to earn your degree. And if I remember correctly, also, the last 20 credits have to be completed here at K-State. But that's something, once you're admitted, your advisor can really get into a lot more detail of what transferred, and what that degree completion plan would look like. Any chance they will offer the Bachelor of Science in Sports Nutrition online?
I can try to take a stab at that. It is really close. We're missing a couple of classes, but at this point, no, it's not in the fully online version yet. So there are still a couple classes that have an on-campus requirement, but getting closer. No, that's probably not the answer that you wanted.
No, I would say our closest for fully online would be nutrition and health. Maybe kinesiology, especially with that exercise science, that would be our closest options. Good questions.
And then I got another question in chat that I answered, but I was going to just share it for everyone else as well. So someone was asking, how do you get that application fee waiver? So like I said, you will email us. So online@ksu.edu, you want to connect with us. We need to confirm your information and kind of, make sure that we're applying the code to your correct application for the semester. So we won't send you any specific link. You will contact us and then we can apply that fee waiver for you.
Any other questions?
Well, it's been fantastic working with you all tonight. Thank you again for coming. If you have anything, email us at online@ksu.edu. We'd love to visit with you. And we can also set up appointments and visit with you on the phone as well. So we can send you those links, but would love to have conversation. And yeah, let us know if there's anything else that we can help with. And I'll end tonight's presentation by saying, go Cats. Good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.